On the day of the college entrance exam, the class beauty left her exam admission ticket at home. My boyfriend found out and insisted on going to get it himself. I was about to advise him not to go, then I saw a barrage of comments pop up before my eyes. Baby, don't try to persuade him, he'll kill you. Even the female lead herself didn't know that the person in the male lead's heart had always been the class beauty. Outside the examination hall, Lin Yi came running towards me. Sweat soaked the strands of hair on his forehead, but he paid no attention to it as he urgently said, I need to go back and get Xingxing's exam admission ticket. Staring at the barrage of, don't persuade her, comments flooding the screen, I said half doubtfully, then you'd better hurry. Seeing me being so agreeable for the first time, Lin Yi froze in surprise. Then I'm off. What if I miss the college entrance exam? So he does understand the importance of the exam. Xingxing popped out from the side, Brother Lin, which is more important, the exam or me? Of course you're more important. Lin Yi patted her head, then ran out of the examination hall and disappeared into the crowd. Originally, the world I'm in is a movie. Lin Yi is the male lead, I'm the female lead, and Xingxing is the deceased white moonlight. In the original plot, I advised Lin Yi not to go back. Xingxing didn't make it to the first exam on time, her grades plummeted. And she missed her dream school. In despair, she jumped off a building and committed suicide. When Xingxing died, Lin Yi didn't shed a single tear. He and I applied to Tsinghua University together, completed our master's and doctoral degrees, and finally entered the palace of marriage. We started a company together and built a happy little home. I thought Xingxing's death didn't affect him much. Who knew? On a rainy night, he stabbed me several times with a knife and pushed me off the high rise. Lin Yi said, if I had helped Xingxing get her exam admission ticket, she wouldn't have jumped. It's all because of you, you murderer. This line is the most brilliant part of the film. Reading this sent chills down my spine, the blade pierced my heart and pain gnawed at my entire body. Some details I had deliberately ignored surfaced in my mind. Xingxing and I were roommates, during holidays. If there's a gift for me, there's one for my roommate too. I thought Lin Yi gave gifts to my roommate to ask them to take better care of me. Now that I think about it, mango pudding wasn't my favorite, but it was Xingxing's favorite. My hands trembling, I took out my phone and sent a message to Lin Yi. Let's break up, whether these bullet comments are real or not. At least, in this lifetime, I want to live. The examination hall doors opened, and millions of candidates surged inside. After 2.5 hours of frantic writing, I smoothly walked out of the exam hall. During the exam, Lin Yi and I didn't get to see each other. Until the last exam was over, my parents picked me up. We've prepared a big meal for you to celebrate you and Lin Yi finishing the college entrance exams. Mom, Dad, I broke up with him. My mom froze for a moment. Did he bully you? Don't be sad, my dear daughter. Mom will take you to the bar tomorrow to find some young hunks. I couldn't help but laugh. I just feel we're not a good match. Our family and Lin Ye's family have been close friends for generations. The two families wouldn't break off relations over our breakup. A sudden bullet comment floated across the screen. Little sis is still happily oblivious. The male lead will take advantage of your death to swallow up your family's business. My raised smile instantly dropped. Lin Yi, you're something else. Pushing open the banquet hall doors, Lin's father and mother came forward to greet us. Lin Yi sat in a corner playing games. Lin's mother took my hand. How did Xingxing do on her exams? I smiled. Getting into Tsinghua shouldn't be a problem. Mother Lin froze. Xingxing plans to attend Tsinghua. I was thinking you and Linya could go to the same university, so you could look out for each other in the future. Clearly, Mrs. Lin knew that Lin Yi, who had missed one exam, couldn't possibly be admitted to Tsinghua University. My mother pushed Mrs. Lin aside. Look at this mess. Xingxing and Lin Yi have already broken up. Mrs. Lin rushed over and grabbed Lin Ye's ear. You little brat, did you bully Xingxing? Apologize now. Lin Yi deftly dodged and pulled me out of the banquet hall. When Xingxing and I are just ordinary friends, was it necessary to make a scene in front of both families? Didn't you hear me say we're breaking up? Lin Ye's face was cold. I don't agree. My wrist ached from being pulled, and I instinctively frowned. Lin Yi acting like this only made me believe the barrage comments even more. This is a notice, not a request. I coldly shook him off and returned to the banquet hall. My best friend Xiaoxing barged into my house, kicked open the bedroom door, and yanked open the curtains. Xingxing, huge news, your boyfriend helped Xingxing get her exam admission ticket, but in the end, neither of them could enter the exam hall. Xingxing hugged Lin Yi and cried outside the exam hall, and it was all captured by reporters. The two of them became famous overnight. Jumping straight to today's headlines, I groggily opened my eyes and stayed silent for a long while. I know, Xiaoxing widened her eyes. Didn't you try to talk him out of it? Our homeroom teacher was furious when he found out. Got chewed out by the principal in the office for 2 hours straight. If there hadn't been bullet comments, I might have actually persuaded him. Now, I'm filled with relief. This was his choice. Whatever the outcome, it has nothing to do with me. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm single now. Xiaotong leaped 3 feet high with joy, jumping onto the bed and hugging me tightly. Amazing, I could tell ages ago that he and that Xinxing had something special going on. You're just too kind-hearted, able to tolerate their ambiguous cuddling. I chuckled self-deprecatingly. Others could see it clearly. Only I was lost in Lin Ye's tender embrace, foolishly unaware. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm curious to see which school Lin Yi can get into this time after missing one exam. At the graduation ceremony, Lin Yi pulled Xinxing into a private booth. Under the curious gazes of the crowd, I calmly took a sip of my drink. Unexpectedly, Lin Yi walked up to me. When Xing, it's over between us. I choked on water and laughed angrily. So Lin Yi only accepts him dumping others, but can't stand being dumped himself. All sorts of gazes turned toward me, pitiful, sympathetic, mocking. I grabbed the water cup and splashed it at him. Remember, it was me who dumped you. The air fell silent. Amid Xinxing's screams, several male classmates held Lin Yi back tightly. Lin Yi was seething with rage. If looks could kill, I would have been skinned alive by now. Someone changed the subject. Lin Yi, I heard you and Xinxing are planning to repeat the year. Xinxing nestled happily into Lin Ye's embrace. That's right, although we missed the exam, I saw Lin Ye's love for me, so we decided to retake the year together and attend Tsinghua University tomorrow. After graduation, we'll get married, he'll work to support me, and I'll be his virtuous homemaker. Lin Yi listened with a proud expression on his face. Thanks to the exam admission ticket, I found true happiness. Lin Yi glanced at me provocatively before lowering his head to cover Xinxing's lips. Several boys hooted and jeered. The private room was filled with waves of teasing and clamor. Xiaotong glanced at me discreetly and leaned in closer. Lin Yi used to say he liked you, but now he's changed his mind. He's such a scumbag. I gently patted Xiaotong's hand. Don't worry, I'm not upset. Lin Yi and I grew up together since childhood. From the moment we were born, we were inseparable. We cried so much that both our mothers were at their wits' end. During our pretend play, he always loved tugging at my braid, making me play husband and wife with him. The first semester of senior year in high school, he confessed his feelings to me. I agreed without hesitation. We inherited our parents' excellent genes and became the enviable campus couple. Even the teachers turned a blind eye to it. We thought we would go from campus to wedding gowns. But all of this came to an abrupt end because of an admission ticket. Xiaotong noticed my gloomy expression and comforted me. Look at how smug they are. They probably spent the whole year repeating grades just fooling around in love. If they get into Tsinghua University, I'll eat a pound of dirt. I burst out laughing. All right, it's a deal then. Xiaotong panicked. No, I was just joking. I stood up. Everyone, I have something to attend to and need to leave now. I raised my glass to them. Downed the drink in one go, and drew the curtain on high school. Grabbing my bag, I walked to the elevator. Seeing the under maintenance sign on the elevator, I stepped into the pitch-black stairwell. Just as I descended one floor, crimson bullet comments made my pupils contract sharply. Baby, run, someone's trying to hurt you from behind. Instinctively, I took off running. The sound of high heels echoed in the silence. A comment popped up asking, what's going on? I paid for early access. And Xinxing hired someone to kidnap Mei Bao, trying to ruin her reputation. Xinxing must be crazy. Run, he's catching up. The footsteps of an adult man were getting closer and closer to me. Dimly, I saw a tall figure. The man was toying with his prey like a cat playing with a mouse. A cold hand pressed against my shoulder. I turned my head and swung my bag at his face, taking advantage of his pain. I pushed open the safety door and ran inside. Little sister, run forward. There's someone ahead. I saw hope. After running just a few steps, I heard the click of a lighter. The boy leaned against the wall, his tousled hair covering his brows, a cigarette dangling from his thin lips. Without a second thought, I rushed up to him. Save me. Xiao Jin looked up just as someone dashed out of the darkness and crashed right into his arms. Hiss. I rubbed my head. The moment our eyes met, I froze. Isn't this the school bully from our campus? There are too many glorious deeds of fighting and beating others up, even sending them to jail. I trembled, afraid he might hit me too. Xiao Jin's calm voice sounded, What's wrong? Someone was chasing me in the hallway just now. Xiao Jin checked the hallway and picked up my bag for me. It's all right now, let's go. Where to? I'll take you home. On the way, the atmosphere was too quiet, so I started talking about Lin Yi and Shen Xing's impressive college entrance exam results. He listened silently and finally said, Lin Yi has poor character, have you considered breaking up with him? Sure enough, I'm the only one in this world who hasn't seen Lin Ye's true colors. I shrugged, looking relaxed. We've already broken up, let's exchange WeChat. The topic suddenly shifted, and I hurriedly took out my phone. Ha ha ha, little sis has no idea. Xiao Jin has had a crush on her for 3 years. Don't be fooled by his calm demeanor now, he's actually super excited inside. If Lin Yi hadn't beaten him to it, Xiao Jin would have confessed to little sis long ago. Little sis, look quick, his ears are turning red. I quietly looked up, the boy's ears flushed crimson red. At the doorstep, I waved to him. Thanks for today, I'll treat you to dinner another time. Alright. After the results came out, admissions teams from Tsinghua and Peking University both came to my house. They competed to recruit me, saying I could choose any major I wanted. Lin Yi always said before we broke up, gardening is suitable for girls, trimming flowers and plants every day, and the work is easy too, but deep down, I lean more towards the computer science department. I looked up at the barrage of comments, everyone was chatting enthusiastically. Computer science, look at me, sweetheart. In the original plot, the protagonist listened to Lin Yi and chose landscape architecture. Then studied desperately for a year before transferring to computer science. Computer science is definitely a hot major for the future, with many job opportunities available. I firmly chose Tsinghua University's computer science department. Just after seeing off the admissions office, Xiao Jin sent a message, have you decided on which major to choose? I told him about the major I had chosen and went on a date to go shopping with Xiao Tong. At the restaurant, just as the dishes were served, we ran into Lin Yi and Shen Xing. What a coincidence, you're here to eat too. Shen Xing, holding on to Lin Ye's arm, sat down across from us without hesitation. I'm so jealous you get to spend time with your bestie. Unlike me, Lin Yi sticks to me every day, leaving me no personal space at all. Lin Yi chuckled dotingly. If not with me, who else would you want to be with? You're so annoying, always so domineering. Shen Xing bashfully leaned in and gave Lin Yi a kiss. Xiao Tong was so disgusted she dropped her chopsticks. I handed her a new pair of chopsticks and said pointedly, then you'd better stick with Lin Yi every day, otherwise I'm afraid it won't be safe for you to walk alone at night. After all, seeing Shen Xing breathing rapidly, I smiled and said, seems like there's been a pervert lurking around lately. Shen Xing changed the subject. Wen Xing, you must feel quite lonely attending university alone. What a pity, Lin Ye can't accompany you. He needs to help me with my repeat year. I smiled faintly as a shadow fell over my head. No pity needed, she and I attend the same school, the same major. Xiao Jin stood beside me, his dark eyes fixed on me, radiating an overwhelming presence. Wow, I'm totally shipping this. In the barrage of comments, everyone was beyond excited. Please listen to the chorus of wows. Lin Ye's face turned green as he stared at him warily. When did you get to know such a troublemaker? Wen Xing, I retorted, a troublemaker. His college entrance exam score was higher than yours. Seeing Lin Ye's displeased expression, Shen Xing took the initiative to loop her arm through his. If my brother had taken the Chinese exam, there wouldn't have been any competition. By the way, Wen Xing, what major did you choose? Xiao Jin sat down beside me as if we were old friends, glancing sideways at Shen Xing and answering first, computer science. Lin Ye's face darkened as he frowned at me, his tone was displeased. Didn't I tell you to apply for landscape architecture? What future does a girl have studying computer science? Such an obscure major means unemployment upon graduation. Shen Xing was thrilled. Really? Lin Yi nodded knowingly. It seems she'll have to rely on her parents forever. Xiao Tong is an art student and doesn't understand these things very well. Hearing this, her face flushed with urgency as she cast an anxious glance at me. I said calmly, what's it to you? Could it be you're jealous I got into Tsinghua? Xiao Tong finally let loose with her scathing remarks. Some people here are about to repeat a year of school, yet they're still sitting around barking like mad dogs. If I were them, I'd be at home crying while studying. Lin Ye was infuriated, slamming the table as he roared, what's so hard about Tsinghua University? Just wait till I casually repeat a year, it'll be a piece of cake. Shen Xing rested her chin in her hands. her face full of admiration. A passerby nearby had already recognized Lin Yi and was frantically snapping photos with their phone. Lin Yi continued to ramble on, "After I help you repeat a year of study, forget about Tsinghua. We'll have our pick of the world's top-tier universities." Shen Xing's eyes sparkled like stars. "Brother is so amazing." The crowd of onlookers grew larger. Without a doubt, they would dominate tomorrow's trending headlines again. Lin Yi had no appetite left and quickly left with Shen Xing. Xiao Tong winked at me mischievously. "Suddenly remembered my dog still in the washing machine. Gotta go." In an instant, only Xiao Jin and I remained. I awkwardly made conversation. "What a coincidence. You're here to eat too." Xiao Jin placed the sliced steak in front of me. Hearing this, he chuckled softly. "No coincidence. I came specifically for you. Would you be interested in dating, Miss Wen?" Half a month later, the admission letter arrived at my home. My parents were so moved they shed tears of joy, taking dozens of photos to post on social media. They even threw a grand celebration banquet for my college admission. Teachers, classmates, and my parents' colleagues and friends gathered together. I also invited Xiao Jin. At the banquet, I gave a speech on stage, thanking them for coming. As the speech ended, thunderous applause erupted from the audience. Mrs. Lin in the audience looked envious and regretful. "If only our son hadn't broken up with Xingxing, maybe he would have gotten into Tsinghua University too." Her voice wasn't loud, but it was just enough to reach everyone's ears. The room suddenly fell into an eerie silence. The Lin family had always been strict with Lin Yi, hoping to mold him into a refined and gentle young master. Perhaps they couldn't even comprehend it themselves, exactly which part went wrong, that turned Lin Yi into a rebellious son who defied conventions. Shen Xing stepped forward with reddened eyes. "Auntie, if you don't like me, I can leave." Lin Yi shielded Shen Xing behind him, declaring sovereignty. "Mom, Xingxing is my girlfriend. I love her. Please respect my choice." Mother Lin stared at Shen Xing, with her heavy makeup and big wavy hair, shaking with anger. "If it weren't for you forcing my son to go get his exam admission ticket, how could he have missed the exam?" Shen Xing shook her head, looking pitifully vulnerable. "Brother, you know I didn't force you," Lin Yi said gently. "It was my own choice. Don't blame yourself." "Mom, Dad, the college entrance exam can be retaken, but love only comes once." Mrs. Lin's eyes rolled back as she fainted into Mr. Lin's arms. The scene descended into chaos as someone called for an ambulance to take Mrs. Lin to the hospital. I smoothed things over by saying, "Eat, drink, and enjoy yourselves." After the gathering ended, I stood on the terrace enjoying the breeze. Xiao Jin appeared behind me and handed me a cup of milk tea. "You've been busy all day, must be exhausted." I shook my head with a smile. Xiao Jin looked displeased. "They ruined your college celebration banquet." "No problem," gazing at the starry sky, with the evening wind freely tousling our hair, we remained silent. As for Xiao Jin's confession, I turned him down. At the time, he just shrugged, showing no surprise. "I just wanted to give my high school years a perfect ending." He extended a hand. "So we're still friends, right?" I smiled and shook his hand in return. "Of course." In the library, Xiao Jin and I each held a cup of coffee, with stacks of books piled high beside us. "I plan to study more during the summer break. That way I'll have more time and energy to enrich myself in college." Compared to my hard work, Xiao Jin is a naturally gifted academic genius. He rubbed his head, put down the book in his hand, and typed a string of code on the keyboard. Then he presented it to me like a treasure. "Look, Xingxing." On the computer, hearts bloomed as mischievous little figures wriggled their bodies. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. And so, the day of school reopening arrived swiftly. I'm packing my bags at home. The doorbell rings. I run to open the door, and there stands an unexpected guest. Lin Yi looks at me gently. "Xingxing, I'd like to talk to you for a moment." In the hallway, I grew impatient. "What's the matter?" Lin Yi frowned, somewhat displeased with my attitude, staring at me intently. Subtitles drifted by eerily. "Little sis, don't pay him any mind. He's just trying to backtrack and beg for reconciliation." "Wait, what?" I skipped ahead. "Did Lin Yi and Shen Xing break up?" "Lin Yi wants to have his cake and eat it too." He's eyeing both what's in his bowl and what's still in the pot. A shiver of disgust ran through me, and I stepped around Lin Yi to head home. Lin Yi quickly reached out to stop me. "Xingxing, don't be angry with me anymore. If we don't make up now, there won't be another chance once school starts." I looked at him in confusion. I had no idea which part of my words gave him the impression that I wanted to reconcile. Lin Yi smiled confidently. "I know you still have feelings for me, you're just jealous." I was speechless. If I remember correctly, Haven't we already broken up? He laughed and said, although I can't give you the title of girlfriend, we can still remain friends. Don't worry, Xingxing is very understanding and won't get jealous or angry. I couldn't get through to him, so I turned and walked away. I still have things to pack, so I'll go ahead. When Xing, playing hard to get has its limits, just look at yourself, all sloppy and unkempt. Xing is 10,000 times better than you, I said, then go find Xing. I don't want to be friends with you. Seeing my calm tone and the absence of anger on my face, Lin Yi inexplicably felt a bit more frustrated. Don't think that just because you got into Tsinghua University, you can be complacent. The competition is fierce now. If you choose computer science, you might even struggle to find a job later. When the time comes, you can come to me, maybe I can introduce you to a few positions with a monthly salary of 3,000. I rolled my eyes and slammed the door shut hard, leaving him outside. Lin Yi got snubbed and ranted at the door for a long time. Finally, seeing that I ignored him, he slunk away. Later, Xiaotong told me, on his way back, Lin Yi was dragged into an alley by someone and beaten up. Lin Yi had his head covered, and there were no surveillance cameras on that road. He had no choice but to swallow the bitter pill in silence. Xiaotong asked, "Who do you think did it?" I shook my head. The barrage had already provided the answer. Who else could it be? Of course, it's our school bully. The school bully came over happily to find his sweetheart, only to discover her being belittled by some scumbag. Who could stand that? I actually had some suspicions. After confirming it, I couldn't help but feel a bit worried. I hope Xiao Jin didn't hurt his hand. School started, and Xiao Jin and I took the same flight to Beijing. Stepping into university, I dragged Xiao Jin into studying like crazy. We competed fiercely for GPA and credits, vying for the top spot in academic courses. Just as we entered sophomore year, a professor specifically requested both of us to join a research project, easily becoming the teacher's favorite. Xiao Jinren and I maintained a friendly relationship, learning from and encouraging each other. Going home for vacation, I arranged to visit our alma mater with a few high school classmates. Xiaotong attends a local university. When she saw me, she chatted away, sharing gossip about Linya with me. Linya and Xingxing fooled around together for a year and ended up not even meeting the undergraduate admission score line. Both of them failed the college entrance exams. Finally, he ended up at a local vocational college. Lin's parents turned gray overnight and simply stopped caring whether Lin Yi lived or died. Lin Yi and Xingxing seemed to have opened the door to a whole new world. They indulged in every vice, eating, drinking, whoring, and gambling. "Sorry I'm late," a sweet, cloying voice rang out. Xingxing wore heavy makeup, her bleached blonde hair styled casually, with lip and ear piercings glinting silver. Lin Yi walked beside her, his eyes brimming with adoration. "Walk slower, what if you fall?" Our group's eyes all turned to focus on Xingxing's belly. Xiaotong was the first to lose patience. "Are you pregnant?" "Yes, it's been almost 4 months." Xingxing gently stroked her belly with a sweet smile. She gave me a triumphant glance. "Lin Yi and I have agreed. We'll hold our wedding right after the baby is born. Everyone must come and celebrate with us then." They exchanged glances. Sharing an unspoken understanding, Xiaotong came over, linking her arm with mine, and muttered, "That's just too outrageous." Bullet comments whizzed across the screen. "Little sis, I've got something to tell you. Keep your expression under control. The child isn't Lin Ye's." Now I was truly shocked. I dug my nails deep into my palm, refusing to let out even a sound. Xingxing is really playing the field. We bought flowers for our homeroom teacher. Pushing open the office door and seeing Lin Yi with his dyed blonde hair and pregnant Xingxing, the homeroom teacher coughed uncontrollably. "You're trying to kill me with anger," Lin Yi said righteously. "Life has countless possibilities. Teacher, you should respect our choices. Xingxing and I share true love, and I have the ability to support her and our child." During high school, teacher had the highest expectations for me and Lin Yi. Train us both as key seeds, just hoping that both of us could get into Tsinghua or Peking University and have a bright future. After class, the head teacher often gave us extra tutoring. When Lin Yi was repeating his final year, the head teacher earnestly advised him to turn over a new leaf. Lin Yi remained stubbornly unrepentant. Our homeroom teacher was getting older and in poor health. Fearing our teacher might fall ill from anger, we quickly shooed Lin Yi and Xingxing out. We chatted about amusing college stories in the office. The old teacher was so pleased he couldn't stop laughing. He wiped his glasses and looked at me. "Xingxing, seeing you so motivated puts my mind at ease." My heart warmed at his words. The homeroom teacher always worried that I'd be unable to recover because of Lin Yi. The barrage comments chattered away. our darling sister is doing better and better after leaving that scumbag. Men would only slow down our sister's sword-drawing speed. I went to the restroom midway. When I came out, I ran into Lin Yi smoking nearby. So, seeing how happy I am now, you regret it, don't you? Lin Yi raised an eyebrow and blew out a smoke ring. He gave me a once-over. Actually, if you want to come back to me, it's not impossible, but first, you need to get rid of those black-framed glasses. They're too tacky. I took a step back, waving away the smell of smoke in the air. I hope you and Xinxing stay locked together forever. Stop coming out to harm people. Lin Yi smirked, stepping closer to me. Of course, she's my one and only. But if you want to be the other woman, I can accept that too. How about it? Xinxing's father is the boss of a well-known local company. I can start working there right after graduation. With me, I guarantee you'll live in luxury. He flirtatiously twirled a strand of my hair. Slap. Xinxing rushed out from the side. My face was slapped to one side, burning with pain. Wen Xing, you're shameless. Still trying to seduce Lin Yi at this point. What if you got into Tsinghua? What if you're highly educated? Men only like gentle and virtuous women. Who would want a bookworm like you? Brother, Linya is mine. If there's a next time, it won't be just a slap. Linya blew on Xinxing's palm. Does it hurt, baby? Two unreasonable pretenders. I raised my hand and slapped Xinxing across the face. You dare hit me? I'm hitting exactly this pair of scumbag and slut. I wasn't about to hold back either. Xinxing slapped him once, while Lin Yi retaliated with the 18 subduing dragon palms. From now on, remember to steer clear of me when you see me. I'm not interested in your brother. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, we were seniors. Xiao Jin and I were conducting research under the same advisor. The mentor has a stellar reputation, handling only top-tier cutting-edge projects. Xiao Jin and I successfully secured our spots for graduate recommendation. With more free time on our hands, we teamed up to start a company. Currently, we're in the initial stages of getting it off the ground. Speaking of Xiao Jin, he has been by my side all these years, countless days and nights. We delve into problems and research topics together. He's my study buddy and dining companion. I've grown accustomed to his company. It's a lie to say my heart isn't moved. Perhaps we could develop into bedmates. Returning home for the holidays, I saw a figure standing at my doorstep. In the depths of winter, his lips were pale and fingers swollen red, clearly waiting for me for quite some time. The moment he saw me, Lin Yi stepped forward with delight. His voice was hoarse. Long time no see. I responded politely. Long time no see. He rubbed his hands together. How have you been lately? You're about to graduate. Are you planning to look for a job? I replied indifferently. I plan to continue with graduate studies. He was taken aback and disapprovingly said, graduate school entrance exams are so competitive these days, and your major doesn't have much future prospects. You'd be better off finding a job and starting work early. I got a direct admission to graduate school. Direct admission. He was stunned, speechless. Well, it makes sense. You've always loved studying, he said, stealing a glance at me. I'm planning to start working. Xinxing's dad offered me a position as general manager in his company with an annual salary of $1 million. I don't care. Oh, congratulations then. Do you have anything else? If not, I'm going inside. He grabbed me, pinned me against the door, and held my hands tenderly. Xinxing, is there still a chance for us? I've realized that after all these years, I still can't forget you. Suddenly, bullet comments flooded the screen before my eyes. I didn't have time to push Lin Yi away. Little sis, get out of the way quickly. Xiao Jin's heart is about to break. Save him. The child is about to cry. Me. I pushed him away forcefully. Get lost. Go find somewhere cooler to stay. Walk to the corner. Xiao Jin sat in the snow, with a roasted sweet potato split in half lying beside him. He curled himself up in his fluffy collar. I was amused by him. I bent down and ruffled his hair. He looked up at me with watery eyes, the corners still red. He stared blankly at me and asked, "What are you doing here?" I said gloomily, "If I didn't come, someone would start crying." I wasn't. I picked up the roasted sweet potato from the ground and took a bite from a clean spot. So sweet. Don't eat that. I'll buy you another one. Okay, then you have to remember to buy me one every year. The first snow fell, a snowflake clinging to his long lashes. Xiao Jin stood up and gave me a bear hug. His voice was solemn and firm. All right, it's a deal. After graduation, Xiao Jin and I continued our postgraduate studies. The company got on track. We quickly rose to become the new elite in the computer industry. Xiao Jin and I bought an apartment in Beijing, planning to settle down there. My parents are also very supportive and quite satisfied with Xiao Jin as their future son-in-law. Xiao Tong called me to chat about gossip. Xing. Lin Yi is really miserable now. I perked up a bit. How so? After Xing gave birth, she became a full-time housewife at home. Her family's company suffered a broken capital chain and declared bankruptcy. Lin Yi once boasted about becoming a general manager, but now those plans have come to nothing. Now he can only work in a factory tightening screws, earning that meager wage. I replied. Has he ever thought about furthering his education? Quite a few people are upgrading from college to bachelor's degrees these days. Xiaotong burst into laughter. You really overestimate him. My phone buzzed with an incoming call. I ended Xiaotong's call and answered the unknown number. Hello. There was a long silence on the other end. I thought it was a wrong number and was about to hang up. Then Lin Ye's hoarse voice came through. It was me, Lin Yi. What's up? I heard you've succeeded in your entrepreneurial venture. Congratulations. Thank you. You're doing so well in Beijing. Could you introduce me to a job opportunity? I'd like to develop my career in Beijing. Lin Ye's tone was almost pleading. He himself was also weary of it, in the assembly line factory, doing the same monotonous work day after day. Sorry, I can't, I flatly refused. Given Lin Ye's capabilities, recommending him would only embarrass me. Xiao Jin walked over, snatched my phone, and pinned me down on the bed, gazing at me with dangerous eyes. Was it that ex-boyfriend of yours again? I couldn't help but laugh. Don't you smell something? The whole room reeks of vinegar. Xiao Jin leaned down and kissed me, biting my lip fiercely. A jealous man is too clingy. When I woke up the next morning, my legs were weak. A month later, Xiaotong reported the situation to me again. Stars, shocking news. Lin Yi and Xing are getting divorced. This does come as a bit of a surprise to me. I thought they would be deeply in love and stay together forever. Lin Yi discovered that he and Xing couldn't possibly have a child with type B blood, so he went for a paternity test and found out the child wasn't really his. Lin Yi was given such a huge green hat, and in a fit of anger, he divorced Xing. I said calmly, maybe this is just fate. Thinking of this, I looked up at the barrage of comments. Thank you. Without these comments, there would be no vibrant Wenxing today. It was the comments that changed my fate. What are you saying, Xing? I chuckled lightly. It's fine. One rainy night, Xiao Jin was working overtime at the company and told me to go to bed first without waiting for him. Drowsiness crept in, and in a half-asleep daze, a rapid knocking sound came from the door. I threw on my coat and asked, "Who is it?" "Food delivery." Without much thought, I assumed Xiao Jin had ordered it for me, the moment my hand touched the doorknob. The barrage of comments on the screen erupted into frantic screams. "Don't open the door. Sweetie, don't open it. It's Lin Yi outside, and he's holding a knife." I was instantly wide awake. Through the peephole, the person outside was wearing yellow clothing with a helmet covering most of their face, but the chin and figure resembled Lin Ye's. The man was holding a box, beneath which a sharp knife was hidden, faintly reflecting a cold glint. Trembling, I retreated to the bedroom and took out my phone to send a message to Xiao Jin. "Don't be afraid, I've already called the police. I'll be there soon." Lin Yi, seeing that I wouldn't open the door, pretended to be very anxious. "Hurry up and open the door. The order is about to expire, and I'm in a rush to deliver the next one." I calmed down. "I didn't order any takeout. Are you sure you have the right address?" "It's yours, Miss Wen." "Liar. I never use my real name for food delivery." To buy time, I continued, "Then just leave it at the door. I just spilled the takeout. Come out and check it so I can compensate you." I fell silent. This is forcing me to open the door for him. No need to compensate. Seeing that I absolutely refused to open the door, Lin Ye started knocking again. The knocking grew increasingly urgent. The pounding sound resonated through my heartstrings. I dragged tables and chairs to block the door. Lin Yi grinned ferociously. "Wenxing, do you really think I can't get in just because you won't open the door?" The knocking sound abruptly stopped. Through the peephole, I saw Lin Yi entering the password for my front door. Beep beep. My heart leaped into my throat. Could he already know my door's passcode? Incorrect password. I breathed a sigh of relief. After several unsuccessful attempts, Lin Yi started banging on the door loudly. Bang. The axe split into the door panel, producing an irritating sound. I was utterly shocked. "Lin Yi, are you out of your mind?" The commotion outside the door paused briefly before the pounding resumed. "Wenxing, you were supposed to stop me. Why didn't you try to talk me out of it?" My heart skipped a beat, though I kept my composure outwardly. "What are you talking about? I don't understand." That day when Xing forgot her exam admission ticket, You should have stopped me, then I could have gotten into Tsinghua University just like you. Why did you have to alter my life? I fell silent. Lin Yi, he knew after all. Little sister, Lin Yi has awakened consciousness and learned the original plot. He hates you to death now. The door had already been smashed with a crack, through which Lin Yi's bloodshot eyes could faintly be seen. I tried to calm him down. Since you already know, then you should understand that the final outcome is you being unable to forget Xinxing, while I meet a tragic end on a rainy night. I'm just trying to protect myself. Lin Yi seemed to be in a trance. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. You ruined me. I'll kill you. Seeing the door about to be broken down, I dashed into the guest bedroom on the 3rd floor. I blocked the door with a bed board. The heavy rain poured down, trapping both the police and Xiao Jin on the road. Xiao Jin called me. Don't be afraid, Xinxing, I'm almost there. Back then, for the sake of peace and quiet, we bought a secluded villa together. Now, truly, heaven won't answer our cries, and earth won't heed our pleas. I checked the surveillance and saw Lin Yi had already barged in with an axe. Rainwater spread damply across the polished floor. He wasn't stupid, after all. He came straight for the top floor. I saw him go up to the 3rd floor, pushing open each door one by one. My heart leaped into my throat. Finally, Lin Yi twisted the knob of the innermost room and found it locked. He grinned maliciously. Wen Xing, stop putting up unnecessary resistance. If I'm going down, you're coming with me. At worst, we'll both go to hell together. Ring-a-ling, the phone rang downstairs. Lin Yi immediately dashed toward the sound. I slumped to the ground, feeling death's scythe brush past me. Sizzle. The door was violently broken open, and I instinctively stepped back. Lin Yi's eyes were submerged in darkness, making his expression unreadable. Wen Xing, such petty tricks won't fool me. What should I do? Hang in there, little sister. Xiao Jin is almost there. I clenched my fists tightly, trying hard to calm my emotions. What do you want? Money? A house? The company? I can give you anything. He slowly approached, raising the axe, his lips curling into a grin. I want you. Take off your clothes yourself and get on the bed. I stared at him, my arm brushing against the windowsill, silently calculating the possibility of jumping. This is the 3rd floor. There's a green belt below to cushion the fall. There's still a chance of survival if you jump. Fine raindrops slant onto my face. Hurry up, or I'll kill you. I pushed myself up with my hands and toppled straight out the window. Lin Yi panicked, reaching out to grab me. Wen Xing, midair, I heard Xiao Jin's heart-wrenching scream, accompanied by the sound of sirens and rain. It was especially poignant on that pitch-black night. Wen Xing, no. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself lying in a hospital room filled with the smell of disinfectant. Xiao Jin was asleep beside me, his hair disheveled and his expression haggard. I moved my hands slightly, startling Xiao Jin awake. Xinxing, you're awake. His eyes brimmed with joy and lingering fear, choking back tears. You scared me to death. Bullet comments cheered. Great, great, Meibao has finally woken up. Only heaven knows how scared Xiao Jin was. He took care of Meibao for 3 days and nights without rest, only collapsing into sleep when he couldn't hold on any longer. I smiled apologetically and looked at Xiao Jin. Would you like to sleep a little longer? No, I'm afraid if I close my eyes, you'll disappear again. He pulled me into his embrace, with melodies lingering in the air. We have a long life ahead of us. The end. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. I raised my daughter to become the world's top violinist, only to hear her call my younger siblings, Mom, Mom. That woman forces me to practice the piano every day. I'm so sick of her. I was utterly shocked and, suppressing my emotions, went to have a DNA test done. Only then did I discover that my daughter was not biologically mine. My sister-in-law was actually her biological mother, and my own biological daughter, whom I carried for 10 months, was switched by my mother-in-law to my sister-in-law and was mistreated, passing away before she even turned 10. My daughter, along with my brother-in-law and his family, discovered the truth and pushed me off a high-rise to my death, then took possession of all my assets. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day of childbirth and swapped the child my mother-in-law had replaced back to its rightful place, in my brother-in-law's family, where sons are favored over daughters. I'll see if that ungrateful wretch can still achieve fame and glory in his youth. Oh dear, it's time, it's time. May the ancestors of the Qi family bless us, and may both daughters-in-law give birth to healthy, chubby boys. The agony of childbirth replaced the excruciating pain of falling from a great height and shattering into pieces, while the howling wind in my ears turned into chaotic, urgent voices. Hearing my mother-in-law's loud voice once again, I finally became certain that I had been reborn on the day of my delivery. Mom, before entering the delivery room, with tears in my eyes, I endured the pain and called out to my mother, who was accompanying me, quietly go buy a highlighter and a UV light, mark the child, and don't tell anyone. Besides you, don't let anyone else touch the child. Although my mom was a bit puzzled, she still nodded and didn't forget to comfort me. Don't worry, I'll keep a close eye on the child and make sure no one steals them. But I shook my head, my lips pale. In my previous life, my mom, mother-in-law, and husband took turns keeping watch, staying vigilant and on guard. They managed to prevent outsiders from stealing the child, but they couldn't stop my biased mother-in-law from swapping out my baby. My mother-in-law has always favored the second son since childhood. This time, after her wish to hold a grandson was dashed, she even went so far as to swap the children of our two families, simply because our family is well off. Raising the second son's daughter in our household would allow her to live the best possible life. Moreover, after we pass away, she could inherit our estate and hand it over to the second son's family. I never expected that I would uncover the truth. For the sake of money, she disregarded over 20 years of nurturing and care, and even conspired with her sister-in-law's family to push me off a high-rise building, and my own daughter, unwelcomed by her siblings, passed away after enduring 10 harsh summers and winters. Having tasted all the hardships of life, this time, I gently touched the baby still in my womb. My eyes darkening with resolve, I swore that the tragedy of my past life would never happen again. The lights in the operating room blurred my vision. In a haze of consciousness, the baby let out its first cry, and I could no longer fight off the exhaustion, closing my eyes wearily. When I woke up, it was already evening. Beside me was my mother, her face filled with anxiety and resentment. Ingxian, your mother-in-law actually switched the baby with your second brother's wife when I wasn't looking. I held back and didn't alert her, but I couldn't find the right moment to switch them back either. She lowered her voice and spoke through gritted teeth, leaning close to my ear. Thankfully, I listened to you and marked the baby early on, otherwise I really wouldn't be able to tell the two infants apart. How could there be such a mother-in-law? My heart skipped a beat. And before I could even speak, my mother-in-law walked into the ward with a dark expression. Both daughters-in-law gave birth to girls, shattering her dream of having a grandson. Didn't you say you were going to make chicken soup? Dear, I'm here now, so you should go ahead and get started. With my mother still present, she put on a considerate act and sent her away. Once my mother had left, she turned to me and said, since Ingxian is awake, I'll go take a nap. Keep an eye on the child yourself. And also watch over the second daughter-in-law, and don't forget to change the diaper. Without waiting for me to respond, my mother-in-law gave a few instructions and left, as if afraid of being asked to do more. This actually created the perfect opportunity for me. The ward was quiet, the sky outside had darkened, and with the lights off, the faint glow from the hallway barely illuminated the layout of the room. I looked at my younger siblings and the baby sleeping soundly in the next bed. Tiptoed over, carefully picked up the child, and quickly swapped them back. Then, I found a fluorescent mark on the nail of the little one's right big toe. Holding my long-lost treasure, tears of excitement and warmth streamed down my face. I held the child like this until my husband, Qi Sheng, arrived in the middle of the night to take over. In my previous life, I told my husband the truth, and although he was furious, there was nothing he could do. In the end, he even managed to accept the devastating news that our children had died. He even tried to persuade me, saying, honey, the dead cannot be brought back to life. Our daughter was raised by us, and even though she is our brother's daughter, she still calls you Mom, doesn't she? After my death, he even followed the advice of that ungrateful wretch and transferred all our family assets to our second brother's family. From dating to marriage, Qi Sheng and I have supported each other for decades. He is excellent in every way, successful in his career, devoted to his family, and loving to his wife, but he is too soft-hearted and blindly filial. That's why, for now, I don't plan to tell him about the baby swap. When Qi Sheng arrived, my mother-in-law was just heading back to the second son's house with a large bag of baby clothes. Mom, he stopped her, glancing at the sleeping sister-in-law and the baby beside her. If you take all the clothes, what will the baby wear? My mother-in-law snorted disdainfully. A girl doesn't need new clothes. These clothes are for my precious grandson. She shouldn't wear away her brother's good fortune. Her voice wasn't loud, but in the quiet of the deep night, it still reached my ears clearly. Yes, in my previous life, my real biological daughter, who lived with my brother and sister-in-law, never wore a single new piece of clothing. The daughter was malnourished, thin and frail, half a head shorter than children her age. So my mother-in-law suggested giving her our old clothes to wear. Some of the clothes were too worn out, and I was too embarrassed to offer them. I picked out a few that were still decent to give her, but I never imagined those would be the only clothes the child had all year round. In the summer, it was manageable. My mother-in-law would patch together a few pieces of old cloth to make a change of clothes, but when winter came, my daughter could only wear thin, old clothes. Shivering and stomping her feet, with her hands and face turning blue and purple, in contrast, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were dressed in thick, stylish clothes, one more fashionable than the other. Occasionally, when I returned to my hometown, I couldn't bear to see it and bought scarves and new clothes for the whole family, but only my daughter's cotton-padded jacket was returned by my sister-in-law. She told me to buy the black one, saying the child is mischievous and clothes get dirty easily. I didn't suspect anything and went back to exchange it for a black one, but during the new year, I saw that jacket and scarf both worn on my younger brother. It turned out that boys don't wear pink down jackets. The daughter is still wearing the same thin, faded old clothes that expose her wrists. The baby in my arms smacks her lips. She is sleeping peacefully, with my warm tears just fallen on her little mouth. I gently wipe away the moisture from the corner of her mouth, and my arms holding her unconsciously tighten. My mother-in-law points to a bulging plastic bag on the floor. Those are Gangzi's old clothes from when he was little. She can wear those. Chi Sheng was shocked. Mom, that was from so many years ago. Is that outfit even clean? You don't understand. It's better for raising a child this way. Speaking of raising a child, Chi Sheng seemed to remember something and asked weakly, what about the name? You didn't give her a name that's easy to raise, did you? A proud smile spread across the mother-in-law's face. Her official name is Jowdy. We can just call her Gooden as a nickname. Chi Sheng's lips trembled, his face filled with disbelief. Would Gangzi and his wife agree to that? Why wouldn't they agree? What's wrong with the name? The mother-in-law retorted indignantly, that's a good name. A self-mocking smile curled at the corner of my lips. In my previous life, that ungrateful wretch who had been raised under my care often bullied my daughter because of this name. In this life, let her bear this name as well. She doesn't like my teachings, she doesn't like the new clothes I buy for her, and she doesn't like the violin lessons I signed her up for. She doesn't like anything I give her. She only longs for her younger sibling's family. In this life, I want to see if she can achieve academic success and fame at a young age in the home of her beloved biological mother, just as she did in her previous life. My mother-in-law was not idle at all, taking care of my sister-in-law with all her heart and soul, and those old clothes were soon worn by Jowdy. Then she picked up the unknown brand of milk powder placed on the cabinet, casually scooped 2 spoonfuls, mixed it with boiling water, and fed it to the crying baby. This move made Chi Sheng and the family members accompanying the patient in the next bed watch in fear and trepidation. After feeding her, my mother-in-law came over again to take a look at my baby. Chi Sheng stood up and stopped her. Mom, we've hired a postpartum nanny. Things like feeding can be handled by the nanny. You should just rest properly. Why hire a nanny? That's just a waste of money. Otherwise, you alone can't take care of both of them, can you? Chi Sheng managed to persuade the mother-in-law to leave after much convincing. My gaze returned to Jowdy. She was crying uncontrollably because the milk she had just drunk was too hot. Perhaps I had overestimated her. She might not even live to adulthood. I originally thought my daughter's premature death in my previous life was an accident, but now it seems everything had its signs. Sure enough, before long, Jowdy started running a fever. Large patches of rashes also appeared all over her body. It's unclear whether it was due to an allergy to the old clothes or from drinking the formula milk. What was laughable was that when Jowdy was crying uncontrollably on Zhang Yangyang's bed, neither she nor her mother-in-law took it seriously. Instead, they complained that the child was too noisy and kept shaking her, hoping to lull her to sleep. It was the nurse on rounds who noticed something was wrong. By the time they realized she had a fever, Jowdy was already breathing weakly, her voice as faint as a mosquito's hum. Her little face was flushed bright red, and large patches of redness had spread across her body. Zhang Yangyang didn't care about this at all. She even thought that was my daughter. She even squeezed a bag of breast milk for me, saying she was afraid my daughter wouldn't eat well. Taking the small bag, the moment she turned around, I threw it into the trash without hesitation. In my previous life, it was Zhang Yangyang who came up with the idea to silence me by killing me. I always treated her well, fulfilled my duties as the eldest sister-in-law, and helped their family on multiple occasions, yet in the end, I ended up shattered to pieces, a fever, just bundle up and sweat it out. Isn't that how we all got through it when we were kids? The mother-in-law shouted loudly, trying to stop the nurse who was about to call the doctor. While grabbing another old piece of clothing to press against Zhaodi's forehead, even the family members in the neighboring ward couldn't stand it anymore. Everyone in the entire ward, except for Zhang Yangyang, who remained indifferent, was criticizing the mother-in-law. Feeling embarrassed, the mother-in-law, under the nurse's insistence, finally rushed to send the child to the ICU, just 2 days old and already in the ICU. I looked at Zhaodi's patient ID tag, my eyes reddening at the corners. My heart filled with endless pain. That was the daughter I had cherished for most of my previous life. Perhaps today, she might breathe her last. Her life was about to end before it had even begun. Her heart ached, mixed with numbness and a bone-chilling cold. In my previous life, it was she who pushed me off the balcony with her own hands. In the final moment of the fall, I had already grabbed the hem of her clothes. As long as I didn't let go, I could at least take someone down with me. It's just that the person is the daughter I've cherished for over 20 years, from a baby in swaddling clothes, to babbling her first words, to growing into a graceful young woman. She is the daughter I watched grow up, step by step. In that final moment, I ultimately let go, but I never imagined she had even prepared false evidence of my fall from the building. I died with my eyes wide open, leaving my mother to bury her child, her heart broken with grief. Am I not her daughter as well? And is my own daughter not innocent too? In the end, her life was saved. On the day I was discharged from the hospital, Zhaodi was transferred from the ICU to a regular ward. This fever truly took her to the brink of death. Her life was saved, but her liver and kidneys suffered irreversible damage, leaving her with lasting complications. The doctor hesitated before the family, but eventually spoke softly. I'm afraid this child may not live to adulthood. At this moment, Zhaodi appeared quite spirited. Her eyes darted around, full of curiosity about her surroundings, and she was more active and well-behaved than before, especially when she saw Zhang Yangyang. She became even more affectionate. Zhang Yangyang's maternal family seemed unaware of the child-swapping incident and cherished this granddaughter, who had narrowly escaped death, holding her and unable to put her down. Zhaodi also obediently clung to the adult's clothes. She was affectionate with everyone, except for me. She would close her eyes as soon as she saw me. After just one glance, I was ready to be discharged from the hospital under my mother's arrangements. Just before stepping out of the ward, I recalled this familiar gesture. In her previous life, whenever she threw a tantrum, she would close her eyes and turn her head away, ignoring others. How could such a young infant possess such independent consciousness? I turned back and reappeared in Zhaodi's line of sight. Sure enough, the eyes that had just opened closed once again. I silently stepped back as Zhang Yangyang's younger brother held a harmonica, blowing it with a loud, wailing sound to amuse her. The baby's attention was captured, and her eyes seemed to light up as she watched the harmonica. This delighted the elders, making them laugh heartily. I also forced out a cold smile. Only then did I become certain that she had also been reborn. It seemed she still didn't know the grim news of her destined short life. Zhaodi's gaze remained fixed on the harmonica, as if recalling the boundless glory of standing under the spotlight and performing music, just in this lifetime. Even though she has already mastered the violin to perfection, without me, can she still become the principal? Zhaodi. Zhaodi, her mother-in-law picked her up, coaxing her like teasing a kitten. Hearing this unpleasant name, Zhaodi was stunned for a moment, then burst into loud wails. Unfortunately, the more she cried, the more enthusiastically her mother-in-law tried to soothe her. In the end, with no other choice, her mother-in-law had to call her by her nickname, Dog Egg. I couldn't stop laughing as I walked, after being discharged from the hospital. My mother-in-law volunteered to take care of me during my postpartum confinement. I knew that taking care of me during my confinement was just an excuse. The real reason was to get me to give up the top-tier confinement nanny for my sister-in-law. Besides, is she here to take care of me during my postpartum confinement? She's basically here to enjoy herself. In my previous life, when I was in confinement, she cooked at home entirely according to her own taste, heavy on oil, salt, and spice, so much so that I couldn't even take a bite. I told her many times, but she never changed. To outsiders, she would say that I, as a daughter-in-law, was picky and hard to please. She also often pocketed the grocery money to subsidize her second son's family. When making soup, would eat one portion myself, send one portion to the second child's family, save one portion for Qi Sheng, and then dilute the rest with water before serving it to me. She also refused to buy formula, insisting that I breastfeed, claiming it was for the child's own good. At night, she slept soundly alone, leaving the child for me to take care of by myself, and she wouldn't allow Qi Sheng to help either. Every time, she only made empty promises. A grown man shouldn't be taking care of a child. Qi Sheng has to work tomorrow, and will be at home all day, so you can rest assured and leave the child with us. Over time, Qi Sheng also stopped speaking up for me. After being tormented like this for a month, I was on the verge of postpartum depression by the time I left my confinement period. On the contrary, my mother-in-law gained a good reputation among the neighbors. In contrast, my sister-in-law Zhang Yangyang, although her family background was not as well off as mine, had hired an excellent confinement nanny. When we met again at the full-month celebration, she looked radiant, glowing, and had recovered exceptionally well. That gold medal postpartum nanny was something my husband, Qi Sheng, went through a lot of trouble to find through connections, but in the end, because my mother-in-law was taking care of me during my postpartum period, we gave it to their family. All the good things were given to Zhang Yangyang, and we ended up doing the hard work for someone else, watching my mother-in-law, who had been rejected but was still carrying large and small bags of luggage into the living room. I knew she had already convinced my soft-hearted husband and once again made a decision for the two of us. However, this time, before my mother-in-law could even settle her things, my mother walked in with the postpartum nanny. "Oh, dear in-law, have you come to take care of Yingxian during her postpartum confinement? Our Yingxian is truly blessed. You've already hired a confinement nanny for the two of them, yet you still go to such lengths to do everything yourself. What do you mean? Hired a confinement nanny?" My mother-in-law was stunned for a moment and looked at the confinement nanny. "Didn't I tell you to go to the second son's house?" My mother quickly cut her off, took out her phone to record a video, and posted it on her social media feed. Our Yingxuan's wonderful mother-in-law, not only did she pay for a confinement nanny, but she also personally helped take care of her during the postpartum period. "Come on, in-laws, look at the camera, let's take a group photo." My mother-in-law pushed my mom's hand away and was about to pull a long face to argue when she saw neighbors passing by outside poking their heads in to join the fun. My mom directly greeted everyone and even led the confinement nanny around to get acquainted with all the neighbors. With that interruption, the post was already sent. My mother-in-law forced a smile and said, "Mother-in-law, please come in quickly. Leaving the door open isn't good for Yingxian. She might catch a chill." My mom, thoroughly satisfied after strolling around the neighborhood and basking in the neighbors' praises, finally returned and sat on the sofa. While showing off on her social media, she asked what we were having for dinner. Qi Sheng was also a bit confused about the situation, but he first helped the postpartum caregiver get settled and then ordered from the restaurant closest to home. My mother-in-law's expression was very unpleasant. My mother had come uninvited, and she even brought along the postpartum nanny who was supposed to be at my second brother's house. What was most important was that my mother actually said this postpartum nanny was paid for by my mother-in-law. You have to know that postpartum nannies aren't cheap, not to mention this one seemed to be a top-tier nanny. Wouldn't that make her spend a fortune? My mother-in-law shot a fierce glare at my mother, who was sitting arrogantly on the sofa, then turned and entered my room with a warm expression. "Yingxian," she rubbed her hands together, her gaze unconsciously drifting toward the baby sleeping soundly in my arms. "What's going on with your mom? I already said I'd come to take care of you during your postpartum confinement, so why did she bring a confinement nanny along?" I sneered inwardly. From the very beginning, my husband and I had agreed to hire a postpartum doula with our own money. It was she who butted in, not only refusing to listen and insisting on taking care of me, but also going behind my back to make Qi Sheng agree to give the doula to his younger brother's family. Now, with her words, it sounds as if we are the ones being unreasonable, wanting everything without giving anything in return. I pulled up the small quilt and covered the baby, blocking out my mother-in-law's nauseating gaze. Seeing that I remained silent, my mother-in-law confidently laid out her plan. "How about this? Since I'm here to take care of you during your postpartum period, I'll definitely be more attentive than those outsiders. As for the maternity nurse, why not let the second family have her? Yang Yang still has no one to look after her, and it wouldn't be right to ask her mother to come, would it, since you already have a maternity nurse here? It's perfect to let her take over." I lifted my eyelids and spoke calmly. "Mom, you're getting on in years. It's time for you to enjoy the joys of family life. There's really no need for you to come and take care of me." My mother-in-law pursed her lips, a flicker of disdain flashing in her eyes, almost rolling them in annoyance. I actually laughed. In my opinion, you should hire a confinement nanny for your daughter-in-law too, that way you can enjoy some peace and quiet yourself. My mother-in-law seemed taken aback that I, the soft persimmon, was now so hard to handle. She widened her eyes as if she had heard something utterly outrageous, trembling all over with anger. Do you think everyone is as wasteful as you? Every penny you spend was earned through my son's hard work. She paced back and forth in the room, pointing her finger at me and panting heavily. Let's not use this confinement nanny either. Give her to the second son's family, as the eldest sister-in-law. You should consider your brother's family. I had already agreed with Xingzi, but you don't trust me, your own grandmother, and instead believe an outsider. Little Bao was frightened and started crying loudly. Hearing the commotion, my husband quickly rushed into the room. My mother-in-law and I were locked in a silent tug-of-war, neither giving in. The room was so quiet that only the baby's cries and gentle coaxing could be heard. Qi Xing looked at his angry mother, then at my cold expression, and pulled his mother out of the room. Mom, let's just listen to Yingxian and keep the postpartum nanny. Why don't you go to Gangzi's house instead? It's the same thing. What do you mean, the same? You have no idea. The nanny was soothing the baby. My husband was comforting my mother-in-law, and my own mom. Oh, Yang Yang's mom. How is Yang Yang recovering from the C-section? Don't you worry. Our in-laws spent 30,000 to hire a top-tier maternity nurse, between sisters-in-law. There's no favoritism. When Yang Yang is discharged and starts her postpartum recovery, we'll definitely hire an even more expensive one. My mom had previously added my sister-in-law's mother as a friend at the hospital, and now she was video chatting with her. What? My in-law's face doesn't look good. What are you talking about? My mom turned around and came face to face with my mother-in-law, who was seething with anger and had nowhere to vent it. Her face had already flushed to a deep purplish-red color. What's going on, dear in-law? Mom was asking a question she already knew the answer to, deliberately keeping the video call on. Her eyes shifted, and suddenly her expression darkened. Could it be that you think the postpartum nanny is too expensive and don't want to hire one? I've already posted it on my social media. If you back out now, won't I become the laughingstock of my old friends? Isn't it only natural for a mother-in-law to contribute both financially and physically to care for her daughter-in-law during the postpartum period? Why does it seem different in your family? Mom was aggressive, looking furious as she angrily hung up the phone call that had just been going so well, sitting on the sofa with her hands on her hips. My mother-in-law was stopped by my husband and was about to argue when her phone in her pocket rang at an inopportune moment. Mom gave a cold glance. It was Zhang Yangyang's mother calling. My mother-in-law was so angry that her temples throbbed. She took a deep breath, pinching her fingers, before finally going to the balcony to answer the phone. Her words were filled with flattery, a far cry from her earlier spirited demeanor. Zhang Yangyang is notoriously known here as a shrew. In the first few years after she married into the family, she and her mother-in-law would have small arguments every 3 days, major fights every 5 days. And she would return to her parents' home every half-month. Her parents, naturally, were no easy characters either. The phone call lasted until the early hours of the morning. My mother-in-law alternated between lamenting her unfortunate fate and throwing a tantrum, ultimately issuing an ultimatum to us, the young couple. If you want to hire a nanny, I can't stop you, but you'll have to pay for it yourselves. She packed up her barely unpacked luggage and moved out of our home overnight. As she left, she didn't forget to curse, ungrateful wretches who forget their mother once they have a wife. My husband, filled with self-blame, saw his own mother off, only to turn around and face his cold-faced mother-in-law. Mother-in-law, you certainly have quite the imposing presence. Is this the kind of life our Yingxian used to live in your household? Qi Sheng was on the verge of tears. In the end, the mother-in-law was unable to hire a confinement nanny for Zhang Yangyang. First, it was too urgent, and there were no available postpartum nannies. Second, Zhang Yangyang's demands were too high, insisting on a top-tier nanny, and her mother-in-law simply couldn't bear to spend the money. She lay on the ground, making a scene over and over, and in the end, she somehow managed to get Zhang Yangyang to back down. After a month of calm, the mother-in-law once again began to organize the full-month celebration with a stern face, since the 2 children were born on the same day. It wasn't practical to hold the full-month celebration over 2 separate days. The mother-in-law's face was so dark it looked like it could drip water. Unwilling to settle for just one gift, when they met again at the full moon banquet, Zhang Yangyang no longer had the radiant glow from her previous life. Instead, she looked haggard. I heard that during her postpartum confinement, she and her mother-in-law fought like cats and dogs. And it seems she didn't gain much advantage. Instead, she began to pay more attention to her daughter, and even the usually biased mother-in-law couldn't help but praise Qi Zhaodi for being well-behaved, except when calling her name. Qi Zhaodi's condition, however, was listless, born with inherent deficiencies and later subjected to all sorts of reckless torment. It would be a wonder if she could live well. During the fortune-telling ceremony, she picked and chose among a circle of items, ultimately picking up the harmonica her little uncle had left for play with a look of disdain. Even the gaps were mixed with mud and grime, and there was still fresh saliva on the harmonica from just being played. It seems she still can't let go of her music dream, but I deliberately pulled the harmonica out of her two small hands. Bringing your mother a little brother is the real business. What good can a harmonica do? The adults present all nodded in agreement. Qi Zhaodi angrily turned her head away, refusing to look at me. The second child, Qi Gang, even threw away the harmonica and shoved a photo of a family of 4, with both a son and a daughter, into her hands. She began to wail loudly. Qi Zhaodi's good days only lasted these 2 years. 2 years later, when Qi Yaozu was born, that's when she really had something to cry about. She was no longer the only child, she became her brother's slave. In the following years, thanks to her efforts, things remained relatively calm. Qi Zhaodi, with memories from her previous life, was sensible and precocious, plus, she had indeed brought a younger brother into the family, so Zhang Yangyang, as if granting a favor, actually treated her much better. However, all that kindness was built upon her various contributions. She had to wash her brother's clothes, make breakfast for the whole family, massage her mother's shoulders, buy cigarettes for her father, and help her grandmother with grocery shopping. As for princess dresses, small cakes, and violins, none of these existed in her world. For her mother, the only thing worth showing off was her first-place grades. In her previous life, she effortlessly obtained all sorts of material things. But in this life, she had to rack her brains and exhaust herself to get them, and they were far from as good as what she had gotten in her previous life. Every time I went back to my hometown for the new year, I would buy new clothes and scarves for the whole family as usual, but this time, I deliberately bought Qi Zhaodi's in black. As expected, in the choice between her precious son and her cheap daughter, Qi Zhaodi was completely defeated. Zhang Yangyang unhesitatingly snatched her clothes away. This time, the one left to suffer in the cold winter was Qi Zhaodi. How could she, who had been accustomed to a life of comfort and privilege in her previous life, possibly endure this, in this lifetime? Forget about being the top performer, she can't even get a ticket to the world of music. When she was 7 years old, she threw herself into my arms, crying and loudly insisting that I was her real mother. My biological daughter, Yao Yao, was pushed by her into the snow. Children's words are innocent, but the expressions of everyone present turned very unpleasant. Before I could react, Zhang Yangyang yanked her back, and a solid slap landed on her face. How dare you talk such nonsense? Don't I treat you well enough? If you ever say such things again, I'll hit you every time. Qi Zhaodi was like a kite that had lost its balance and snapped its string, crashing heavily into the snow. But when I turned to look, what I saw was Zhang Yangyang carefully helping my daughter up, along with her 5-year-old brother making faces at her, sticking out his tongue and winking. Qi Zhaodi's face turned pale and then flushed, whether from the cold or the beating, it was hard to tell. I pulled her up and brushed the snow off her old clothes. This time, it was her turn to wear someone else's hand-me-downs. She was no longer the cherished only daughter of our family, but Yaozu's older sister. This child has a fever and is talking nonsense. Sure enough, as soon as the mother-in-law touched her forehead, it was alarmingly hot. Yet just this afternoon, she had made Qi Zhaodi wash all the vegetables for tonight's New Year's Eve dinner with cold water. You silly child, feeling unwell and not saying a word, instead spouting such strange talk. My mother-in-law is about to use her folk remedy again, covering her up to sweat out the fever. Over the past few years, Qi Zhaodi's health has been poor, with constant minor illnesses. Zhang Yangyang and her mother-in-law's limited patience and goodwill toward her have gradually worn thin with each bout of sickness. Every time she falls ill, it's rare for her to be taken to the hospital. Not only did Zhang Yangyang not stop her mother-in-law, but she also brought a feather duster and gave Qi Zhaodi a beating. A perfectly good New Year's Eve dinner, ruined by you, you jinx. It's the new year, don't hit the child. Only Qi Xing spoke up for her. In her previous life as our daughter, when did she ever get hit? We cherished her so much, holding her in the palms of our hands, that we couldn't bear to see her suffer. After I was pushed off the high-rise, Qi Sheng was heartbroken and became despondent. she seized the opportunity to persuade him to divide the family assets and give them to her biological parents. Later, as he lay on his sickbed, suffering from illness with little time left, he couldn't afford a single penny for treatment. Because all the money had been taken by that ungrateful wretch, Qi Zhaodi stood frozen in place, neither running nor hiding. Her soul was that of an adult, yet the dignity and pride that belonged to an adult had been worn away by the daily beatings and scoldings. She lowered her head and looked at her hands. Once delicate hands that could play world-class music had now become rough and clumsy, covered in chilblains. Could a bird that had fallen into the whirlpool of life ever return to its noble perch? The high fever persisted, and the night seemed so long, an endless darkness with only scattered snowflakes drifting from the abyss. Qi Zhaodi began to talk nonsense again. The life of her past was so different from her current reality that she began to wonder if it had all been just a magnificent dream. Her mother-in-law kept wrapping her in thick quilts, but eventually grew tired from the effort and went back to her room to sleep, thinking she would eventually recover anyway. That's how it's been all these years. Qi Zhaodi broke out in a cold sweat. When Yao Yao brought her water, she seemed to suddenly come to her senses a bit. She looked at Yao Yao, as if thinking of something terrifying, her eyes fixed in a stare, and then she began to sob uncontrollably. She thought of her previous life. The child who didn't live past 10 years old under Zhang Yangyang's care. In this life, that child was replaced by her. She is 7 years old this year. Qi Zhaodi had a persistent high fever, and Qi Xing couldn't bear it, so he called an ambulance for her on New Year's Eve. Red and blue lights flickered on the snowy ground. Many villagers in the village, finding it inauspicious, hid indoors and didn't come out to watch the fireworks. The two got into the car amidst the family's scolding and cursing. Qi Zhaodi, as if clutching at a lifeline, knelt on the ground, grabbing Qi Xing's pant leg, crying and begging, calling him Dad one moment and Uncle the next, pleading with him to adopt her. Zhang Yangyang, standing beside me, kept calling Qi Xing. Sending a daughter for medical treatment is a small matter, but spending money is a big deal. It's already bad enough to call an ambulance and go to the hospital on New Year's Eve. What if the person doesn't make it and dies during the new year? Wouldn't that be even more unlucky? The most important thing is not to bring that bad luck to Yaozu, her precious son. What's the point of saving her? The doctor said back then she wouldn't live past adulthood anyway. All these years, I've just pretended I never had this daughter. Her being alive will only block Yaozu's good fortune. Fine, big brother, give her the phone. I'll talk to her. Zhang Yangyang mercilessly delivered the devastating news that Qi Zhaodi wouldn't live past her teenage years, ignoring the wailing on the other end, and ordered her to get off the ambulance and go home immediately. Mom, even from a distance, I could hear the heart-wrenching and desperate cry. Zhang Yangyang furrowed her brow, holding the phone away and muttering a low curse. Why did you treat me like that? Qi Yao is not. She's not. I am your daughter, I am. Qi Zhaodi told the truth, and Zhang Yangyang muttered softly, what nonsense, you must be delirious with fever. Her hand trembled slightly as she took out her phone. She then hurriedly carried Qi Yaozu back inside, not even bothering to watch the fireworks. What good was it to know the truth? What good was it to feel regret? She had brought this upon herself, and there was no escaping it. Qi Zhaodi stayed in the hospital for several days, and aside from her uncle Qi Sheng, no one came to visit her. This new year, she spent it alone in the hospital. On the day she was discharged, the gloomy sky began to snow again. She was in much better condition, both physically and mentally, as if the prophecy of not living past 18 had crushed the last straw, or as if Zhang Yangyang and her mother-in-law regretted their actions. Qi Zhaodi began to act recklessly at home. She began deliberately opposing her mother-in-law and her own mother. The two were in the wrong to begin with, so they tolerated it repeatedly at first, but eventually, they could bear it no longer. Zhang Yangyang once again picked up the feather duster and gave her a good thrashing. I am your biological mother, I gave birth to you, and now you're trying to lord it over me. Is that it? Even if I made some mistake, it's still. Halfway through, she suddenly couldn't go on. Back then, it was she who watched her mother-in-law dress Qi Zhaodi in old clothes and prepare her formula, and it was she who turned a blind eye to the wailing infant. For so many years, she had also casually ordered and exploited her. She had always believed that child was my daughter, so she remained unmoved. Zhang Yangyang sat on the ground, holding her head and crying bitterly. Qi Zhaodi stood calmly in place. Then, she took Zhang Yangyang's phone and called the police. Someone is abusing a child. Apart from the Qi's precious son Yaozu, the entire family was rounded up and neatly lined up at the police station. A soft-hearted policewoman held Kazadi's frail body. tears falling like raindrops into her straw-like hair. My husband and I were summoned as witnesses. Thanks to her mother-in-law's silver tongue and Qi Sheng's overly kind nature, the few of them didn't face much punishment. Qi Zhaodi had not anticipated this outcome at all. She completely broke down, pointing at Qi Sheng and shouting as if he had wronged her terribly. How could you say that? You've seen all the suffering and hardship I've endured over the years. How could you? You are. The last word was never spoken. After leaving the police station, my mother-in-law looked extremely smug and snorted disdainfully. Who is he? He's your uncle, right? He's my son, of course he's on my side. Qi Zhaodi turned her head away, wiping tears with a stiff neck. But the family's guilt toward her had completely vanished. She actually called the police to arrest them. If they really ended up with a criminal record this time, how could that be acceptable? Although Qi Zhaodi was destined not to live much longer, the family's precious son, Yaozu, almost couldn't take the civil service exam. After quietly sending off the two of us, Zhang Yangyang and her mother-in-law closed the door and gave Qi Zhaodi another brutal beating. Now she was truly subdued. With death constantly closing in on her, time and time again, I remembered the first time that child took the stage for a performance. She seemed to be about the same age as she is now. It was late spring, with dazzling lights shining on the stage. Standing at the very center, bathed in countless beams of light, she didn't feel cold despite wearing a little dress. Her first violin performance wasn't particularly outstanding, earning only a bronze award. But she was overjoyed and promised me she would practice more diligently in the future. I don't know when practicing piano became something she claims I forced upon her. I watched the gate grow smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror. In my previous life, when my biological daughter was this age, what kind of life was she living? That tightly shut gate gradually shrank into a tiny dot. Spring was still a long way off. I never expected the day I would return to my hometown to come so soon. A great fire had burned the old house to the ground, and the once loud and boisterous Qi family members were nowhere to be seen. Qi Sheng's legs gave way, and he stumbled into a pile of ashes, crying out for his parents. According to the neighbors, it was Qi Zhaodi who bought the gasoline, muttering at the time that she would never be cold again, something about a carnival, spring, and the like. As well as the Qi family members who were shouting to escape for their lives when the fire first broke out, yet, for some reason, not a single one of them managed to escape in the end. The one who survived was actually the 5-year-old Qi Yaozu. It was truly a stroke of luck amidst the misfortune. However, he was injured in his vital parts, and the Qi family's lineage would be cut off from then on. A misfortune within a stroke of luck. As the only eyewitness, Qi Yaozu was placed under special protection and surveillance. When he woke up, he became somewhat delusional. Sister wants to kill me, she wants to kill me. She was still singing in the fire, gesturing with both hands. Where's mom? Where is she? Is mom dead? Woo-woo, am I going to die? From his incoherent account, the police pieced together the truth of the matter. The fire was indeed set by Qi Zhaodi. At first, it seemed like everyone could escape. But she directly took Qi Yaozu hostage and ordered everyone not to run. Only Zhang Yangyang stopped in his tracks. Only a mother can't bear to part with her child. The mother-in-law hesitated for only a moment, while Qi Gang didn't even look back. The continuation of the Qi family line, the lifeblood of the family, meant nothing compared to their own lives. Qi Zhaodi held a knife against Qi Yaozu's neck, her emotions running high as she tearfully recounted something about past lives and the present. Before she could finish speaking, Qi Gang and her mother-in-law returned. The main door had long been locked. They had to jump from the second floor, and as luck would have it, Qi Zhaodi was standing right at the stairwell. Thick smoke filled the air, and before Qi Zhaodi could say a few words, she was choked and couldn't hold on to the knife. Qi Gang was the first to go upstairs, but she stabbed him in the lower back. The mother-in-law was terrified, trembling and not daring to step forward, while Qi Yaozu took advantage of this moment to run toward the second floor. Mom, come with me. I heard uncle asking you for money. If you had known it was me from the start, would you have treated me this way? Zhang Yangyang remained silent, his figure hidden in the thick smoke. Qi Zhaodi couldn't stand steadily, and her mother-in-law seized the opportunity to push her down. Jinx, what great sin have I committed to encounter a jinx like you? But Zhang Yangyang grabbed her by the hair, roaring with a sob in her voice, it's all your fault. You're the one who hurt my daughter like this. You're the one who hurt our whole family like this. In the pitch-black thick fog and the blazing flames, Qi Yaozu turned back to look, only to see two women wrestling with each other. Hearing intermittent, hoarse melodies, his heart pounding with fear, He didn't bother to wonder why no one had followed him from behind, trembling as he jumped down from the second floor. In the end, he could still open his eyes and see his uncle. He threw himself into Qi Xing's arms, crying with snot and tears streaming down his face. "Uncle, the police officer said that since I survived a great disaster, I'm bound to have good fortune later. Now that I have no home, can I come live with you? Grandma said that Sister Yao Yao is just a girl and will get married sooner or later." My expression gradually turned cold. With tears in his eyes, Qi Xing gently removed Yaozu's chubby little hand and put the oxygen mask back on him. Qi Zhaodi, fearing that a fire alone might not be enough to wipe them all out, also poisoned the entire family with pesticide. As they left the hospital, the snow began to fall again. Spring was still far away. Spring would come. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.